So the issue of the employment balance between South Africans and foreigners is back in the spotlight. This week, EFF leader Julius Malema led an inspection to the Mall of Afrika, where members of his party entered restaurants to inquire about their hiring practices. For more on this conversation, we're joined by Director of the Center for Development and Enterprise, Anne Bernstein. And thank you for availing yourself this afternoon. So from the work that you do, what do you see on ground level?
Look, I think you have to place these issues in context. I don't think Mr. Malema and his supporters did an inspection. They have no rights or authority to do any kind of inspection at all, and you shouldn't describe it that way. What we're seeing is kind of an attempts at bullying and mass intimidation, and I think how we describe this really matters in South Africa. So we have a country today with massive unemployment, and we have a state that is failing to exercise its authority. The police are not present, and we allow groups of political groups to go around intimidating people. This is exacerbating the South African situation of instability and creating an environment where investors do not want to invest. So I am very concerned about the situation. We have massive unemployment. Over 12 million people are now unemployed in South Africa, and we don't have an effective strategy to deal with this. We need a growth strategy, and a growth strategy that's labor intensive, and we don't have that. So all of this is the cauldron within which various people are catching up on the politics or playing games with politics. And the fact is that we should not be allowing these groups of people with no authority to be intimidating employers or employees.
You speak of the state failing to exercise its authority and attempts at bullying and intimidation. We've seen a number of videos circulating on social media of people allegedly in Soweto who are kicking foreign nationals out of spaces like markets, for instance. We've gone through great pains on the channel to try and get hold of the police minister to at least maybe give us a sense of whether, they are aware and what kind of interventions are being thought of at least. But again, from the work that you do at ground level and the people that you interact with, do we have a problem as South Africans with people who are not necessarily from this country, just based on the work that you do at least?
Well, you need to distinguish and be very clear about the issues here. South Africa has people coming in through our borders illegally. Some of those people get, let's call them they acquire documents that are not official documents through corruption or whatever. This is all very bad for the country. I am in favor of legal, authorized migration, mainly of skilled people, because that's what we desperately need in this society. But I'm totally opposed to citizens posing and assuming the right to tell other people in the country what to do. Now, the police are clearly failing dismally, and that's what I mean when I say the state is weak. We have yet to deal with the people who created and authorized the insurrection of July last year, and in that context, you have to ask, where are the authorities? So the fact that we have a very ineffective police minister and ministry is of enormous concern, and that's what we're seeing play out. And I am very concerned about this. You can't have mob rule or mob justice, or so-called injustice, I would call it. You can't have people wandering around Soweto taking upon themselves the authority to tell other people they can't be here. That's why we have a state and a government, and they are clearly failing in their duty to encourage citizens to obey the rule of law and to be present when they need to be present. We have also failed to deal with xenophobia in this country. I think if you're a very poor person who doesn't have a job, you're right to ask, what is the migration policy in South Africa? And the government has been singularly lacking in finalizing a migration policy, in communicating that policy, and how this government wants to deal with the tricky issues of migration, which are tricky everywhere. But you compound a government failure to spell out its policy and to have an effective policy where the citizens actually believe in it, and a government that is failing to police our communities or to deal with politicians or citizens who take it upon themselves to tell other residents in this country what to do. This is a terrible mix of failures, which is not good for South Africa.
As we continue to engage the police ministry to try and get their perspective, at least we just say thank you. Anne Bernstein, Executive Director of the Centre for Development and Enterprise. To Namibia, a court in that country has dismissed an application by